The cave walls were shaking. Each thud echoed like thunder. Shadows moved like smoke as something massive closed in. The air had turned cold, heavy, dangerous. Zara ran. Her long silver hair flowed behind her, her bare feet slipping on the rocky ground. Her violet skin glistened with sweat, her chest rising and falling in panic. She looked over her shoulder once. Just once. That was all it took to see it. The black-scaled beast had already found her trail. It was massive. Sharp claws, wide-fanged mouth, glowing red eyes. A true apex predator of the wastelands. She ducked behind a jagged boulder and held her breath. Her heart slammed against her ribs like it wanted to break out. This was supposed to be a simple patrol. Instead, it had turned into a death sentence. Her claws gripped the rock. She tried to remain calm, but the sound of the beast's growl crawling closer tore through her mind like fire. She whispered a soft chant to her ancestors. But deep down, she knew even they wouldn't help her now. The predator's snout appeared first, then its eyes, then the rest of its monstrous body, crawling down the rocks like a mountain of teeth and rage. It sniffed the air. It knew she was close. Zara pressed her back tighter to the stone. Her legs trembled. She knew it would smell her fear next. A rock shifted near her foot. The predator turned instantly, roaring with fury. Its red eyes locked onto her. It charged. Zara screamed and raised her arm. She didn't want to die like this. Not in a forgotten canyon. Not torn apart. Not alone. Then something impossible happened. A figure dropped down between her and the beast. She blinked. Her scream choked into silence. It was a human, not in armor, not carrying weapons, just a man, standing tall, arms at his sides, facing the predator like it was nothing. He didn't flinch when the beast roared. He didn't move when the claws scraped the stone. He simply stared at it. Zara's mouth fell open. She had heard of humans. Strange, soft-skinned beings from the green world. But they weren't warriors. They weren't strong. They were supposed to hide behind machines. This one didn't. The beast lunged. The human moved. Zara saw it all in a blur. 1 second, the predator's jaws were open wide. The next, the human's hand was on its throat. The creature slammed into the ground with a heavy crash, sending dust and broken rock flying. Zara couldn't speak, couldn't move. The man stood over the fallen beast. The predator whimpered. Then the human turned his head just slightly and looked at her. His eyes were calm. Steady, not angry, not proud. Just quiet. Zara didn't know what to say. Her body trembled, not from fear, but from shock. Who was this man? The predator tried to rise. The human didn't let it. He pressed it back down with one hand. And this time, the beast didn't fight. It obeyed. Zara's world spun. This wasn't natural. This wasn't possible. Not even the strongest of her warriors could tame a wasteland beast. But this human had done it with no effort. She took a step forward, but her voice barely worked. "What are you?" The man didn't answer. Instead, he looked to the sky. Something else was coming, and whatever it was, Zara suddenly understood one thing. This human wasn't here by accident. He was the reason the predator had come. And maybe, just maybe, this was only the beginning. Zara followed him through the canyon in silence. She didn't know why her legs moved, only that they did. The predator, still limping, followed behind them like a scolded pup. The human walked ahead without looking back. He didn't speak. He didn't slow down. His presence pulled the wind around him, and the stones beneath his feet made no sound. Zara couldn't stop staring. His back was bare, covered in strange scars. Not from blades, but from something hotter. His shoulders were wide, his steps confident. Yet there was no armor, no tech, no weapon. Just a quiet strength. She had to know more. "You tamed it," she finally said. The man didn't answer. "You controlled the beast. No one can do that. Not even the elders." Still, he said nothing. He simply stopped at a high rock and looked into the distance. From there, they could see the dark forest line and the scattered fires of patrols moving. Across the valley, Zara stepped beside him, careful, curious. "Do you even understand me?" she asked. He nodded once. She waited, then added, "Who are you?" He tilted his head. "Name's Cade." Zara blinked. His voice was steady, rough like stone, but not harsh. He didn't speak like someone trying to prove something. "You shouldn't. Be here," she said. "I am here." "But why?" Cade didn't respond right away. Instead, he pointed toward the sky. Far above, a black shape moved fast between the clouds. It had wings, metal, and red engines that screamed like demons. Zara froze. "That's a hunter drone," she whispered. "Why is it searching this far into the border?" "They're not hunting you," Cade said quietly. She looked at him, confused. "Then who?" Cade turned to her. "Me." Zara took a step back. This human was being hunted by the machines of the inner worlds, but why? What had he done to deserve a death drone? She studied his face. He looked calm. Too calm. "You're dangerous," she said softly. His eyes didn't change, only to the ones who deserve it. Suddenly, the predator growled behind them. Cade raised a hand. The beast stopped immediately. Zara couldn't believe it. The predator responded like a trained soldier. "I need answers," she said. "The elders will want to see you." "They already did," Cade replied. She frowned. "That's not possible." He walked forward again. "They sent me away." Zara followed. "Why?" "They were afraid." Zara couldn't argue with that. Even she felt nervous standing near him. What would the ruling council have felt? Still, this didn't make sense. A lone human on foot in the deadliest part of the borderlands, being chased by drones, walking beside a tamed predator. None of this made sense. "Were you born here?" she asked. "No." "Then why come?" "I'm looking for someone." Zara raised a brow. "Who?" He stopped walking. She noticed his fingers clenched, his jaw tightened, and for a brief second something dark passed through his eyes. "The one who made me what I am." Zara felt a chill in her spine. Whoever this human was searching for, it wasn't someone small. She sensed it now, the storm behind his quiet words, the weight behind his gaze. He didn't come to survive. He came to finish something. In the distance, the drone circled lower. Cade turned his face upward and waited. Zara whispered, "They're going to find you." "I know." He didn't move. He didn't hide. And Zara finally understood. This wasn't just a human. This was a warning. The drone descended lower, its red eyes scanning the rocky canyon below. A high-pitched whine followed, and sharp claws unfolded from its sides. It wasn't just a machine. It was a killer, programmed to end threats quickly. Zara crouched behind a rock, pulling Cade with her. But he didn't flinch. He stood tall in the open, watching the drone like it was nothing more than a cloud. "What are you doing?" Zara hissed. "They'll shoot." Cade didn't respond. He raised his hand slowly, palm facing up. Zara stared at him, heart racing. "Are you surrendering?" He said only one word. "No." A sudden hum filled the air. The drone locked onto his position and charged its weapon. Zara's eyes widened. "Move!" But Cade didn't move. Just as the energy blast fired, the predator leaped from behind a rock. The beast knocked Cade down and took the full blast on its armored back. It roared, rolled across the ground, and hit a cliff wall. Zara screamed, "No!" Cade sat up slowly, blinking the dust from his eyes. The predator lay still. The drone circled again, preparing another shot. Zara jumped up and grabbed Cade's shoulder. "We have to run," but Cade was already standing. He looked at the downed beast, then at the drone. His voice was colder this time. "They made me think I was a weapon. I believed them. For years." Zara didn't understand. He continued. "Now, I know I'm not their tool, I'm their mistake." Cade picked up a sharp rock and pressed a button hidden beneath his wrist. Zara saw it then, An old symbol, faded, cracked, but still clear, the mark of Project Vanth. Her blood went cold. "You're from the Ghost Lab," she whispered. Cade nodded. "I escaped, but not all of me made it out." The drone fired again. This time Cade moved, faster than any warrior she had ever seen. He grabbed a fallen metal spear from the cliff's edge, spun once, and hurled it into the sky. The weapon struck the drone's eye dead center. The machine exploded in a burst of flame and metal. Burning parts rained down across the canyon. Zara ducked, stunned. Silence returned. Cade stood in the smoke, his chest rising with steady breath. His skin was cut. His arm burned, but he didn't stop. He didn't show pain. She walked to the predator's body. It was still alive, breathing slow, eyes watching Cade. "He saved you," Zara whispered to it. The beast blinked once, then somehow bowed its head. Cade walked toward them. "They'll send more. They always do." Zara looked up at him. "Then we run." He shook his head. "No. We go to the deep nest." Zara's eyes widened. "That place is cursed." "That's where they hid her," Cade said. "The only other survivor." Zara stood still. Her heart pounded. "You're not just here to fight drones." "No," he said. "I'm here to finish what they started." The wind picked up. Dust swirled around their feet. Somewhere far away, another drone howled in the sky. Zara knew her life had just changed. She had followed a stranger, a human, and now she was part of something far bigger than any border patrol or clan duty. This wasn't about territory anymore. This was about truth and survival. The deep nest was a forbidden place. Even the strongest warriors avoided it. Rumors said it was alive, that the shadows moved and whispers could steal your name. Zara had never planned to go there. Yet here she was, walking beside a human and a wounded predator, deeper into the cursed lands. The trees grew twisted. Their roots rose like claws from the ground. The sky darkened even though the sun hadn't set. The air smelled like old ash and wet stone. She glanced at Cade. He showed no fear. "How do you know where she is?" Zara asked, voice low. "I remember things I was never meant to remember," he said. She didn't ask more. Some answers were better left buried. The predator limped behind them, silent. Every few minutes it would sniff the air or growl low at something only it could sense. Zara felt the pressure in her chest grow. Every step forward felt heavier. Soon, they reached a wide clearing. In the middle stood a black metal door buried in the earth. It was shaped like a mouth, half open, waiting. Zara whispered, "That's ancient tech." "It's a vault," Cade said. "They built it to hide her." Zara took a slow breath. "And who is she?" Cade stared at the door. "My sister." Zara blinked. "Your blood sister?" "No," Cade said, "but we were created together." A strange hum filled the air. The door recognized him. It opened with a deep grinding sound. The predator growled but didn't move forward. Inside, the walls glowed faint blue. The floor was smooth metal. Zara followed Cade down the steps, every nerve screaming to turn back, but she didn't. They reached the main chamber. In the center was a stasis pod, thick glass, old wires, dust covering everything except the face behind the glass. A girl. Her skin was pale, her hair floating like silver clouds. Her eyes were closed, but Zara could feel the power sleeping beneath. "She looks human," Zara said. "She's not," Cade replied. "What is she?" "She's the real Alpha," he said. "The one they couldn't control." Zara stepped closer. The stasis pod was still working, weak but alive. Cade placed his hand on the control panel. The machine hissed. "She's been asleep for years," he said, "but they never stopped fearing her." Zara touched the glass gently. "Why wake her now?" "Because they'll burn this world to keep her buried," Cade said. "And I won't. Let them." Suddenly, the predator outside roared. Cade spun around. They're here. Zara grabbed her staff. More drones? No, Cade said. Worse. Above them, the ground shook. Lights flickered. Zara ran to the door, eyes wide. Outside, a black ship descended, sleek, fast, armed with heavy cannons. Cade looked back at the pod. His hand hovered over the final switch. She won't be the same when she wakes, he warned. Zara said nothing. The Predator roared louder. Explosions echoed from above. Cade's finger pressed the switch. The glass of the stasis pod began to melt away. The hum turned into a scream of power. Zara took a step back. The girl inside opened her eyes. They glowed with fire, and she was already looking at Cade. Not with love. With recognition and something else, a memory. The girl in the pod didn't speak at first. Her glowing eyes scanned the room, then locked onto Cade. She didn't blink, didn't breathe. The stasis fog slowly faded from around her body as the glass retracted. Zara took a cautious step back. Her instincts screamed danger. Cade stood still. The girl stepped out barefoot. Her skin shimmered with strange patterns, shifting like liquid silver. Her hair floated even without wind. She tilted her head, her eyes never leaving Cade. You remember me? He said quietly. Her voice came out soft, yet powerful. Of course. Zara's heart raced. That voice wasn't natural. It sounded like more than one person was speaking at once. The girl looked around. How long have I slept? Too long, Cade answered. The ceiling above shook again. Dust rained down. The black ship had landed. Heavy steps echoed from the surface. Metal boots, in sync, moving fast. They're coming, Zara warned. The girl stepped forward. Then let them. Zara turned to Cade. You said she's the real Alpha. What does that mean? She wasn't made to fight, Cade said. She was made to command. Zara couldn't believe what she was hearing. You mean control others? Cade nodded. Not just minds, energy, life, death. Zara looked back at the girl. Then why lock her away? Because she refused to follow orders. The girl smiled faintly. They feared me because I chose mercy. Suddenly, the metal door above burst open. Soldiers stormed in, tall, armored, glowing visors, plasma rifles raised. They aimed directly at the stasis chamber. Get down, Zara shouted. But the girl raised her hand. In a second, every weapon in the room powered down. Lights on their rifles died. Visors flickered black. The soldiers froze. The Predator outside let out a howl. The girl stepped forward, her eyes brightening. I will not be a prisoner again. She waved her hand gently. The soldiers collapsed. Not dead, but unconscious. Cade stepped toward her. We need to leave. She looked at him, calm but distant. Where would we go? Somewhere they won't find you. Zara moved beside Cade. There's no such place anymore. They'll follow us. They'll burn everything. The girl walked past both of them, her bare feet silent on the metal floor. Then we stop running. Cade frowned. You're not ready. Her voice was cold now. I've been ready longer than you know. Zara glanced at Cade. Can she be trusted? He hesitated. I don't know. The girl raised both arms. All lights in the chamber turned white. The air began to pulse. Even the walls seemed to breathe. Zara shielded her eyes. What is she doing? She's calling to them, Cade said. To who? To everything that still listens, he whispered. The ground shook violently. Outside, trees cracked and bent. Birds flew in every direction. And from the edge of the wasteland, a new roar echoed, one not heard in centuries. Zara felt it. In her bones, something ancient was waking. The girl turned around. They wanted a weapon. And now? Cade asked. She gave him a long look. Now I give them a choice. More footsteps echoed from above. Heavier, slower, something bigger than soldiers. Zara readied her blade. What now? Cade glanced at the glowing girl. Now we find out what kind of monster they feared more than death. The walls trembled again, this time from something heavier. Footsteps echoed through the tunnels like rolling thunder. Zara tightened her grip on her blade. The predator at the door snarled, pacing. They sent it, Cade said flatly. Zara looked at him. Sent what? Cade didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the entrance. The girl beside him was calm, too calm. A massive shadow appeared in the doorway. Then metal claws scraped the ground and a figure stepped forward. It was 10 feet tall, shaped like a man but made of silver-black alloy. Its chest glowed blue, and its head was smooth, without a face. Zara stepped back. What is that? The warden, Cade said. It guards only the worst secrets. The warden's voice came like a growl and whisper at once. Unit VANTH, you are out of containment. This violation ends now. The Yao girl stepped forward. You were built to protect. Now you obey cowards. The warden raised an arm. A cannon unfolded with a loud click. Zara shouted, We need cover! But the girl didn't move. The cannon charged. Cade ran forward. The blast fired. It never reached them. The energy burst froze midair. Every spark, every ripple, frozen like glass. Zara gasped. She stopped it. The girl lowered her hand. The energy shattered and vanished. The warden took a step back. Threat level. Critical. Cade stood beside her now. You think you can beat it? She nodded once. It's not the warden I fear. The machine lunged forward, arms swinging. Cade jumped aside, rolling across the floor. Zara tried to strike, but her blade shattered against the warden's chest. The predator leaped, clawing at its back, but the warden threw it aside like a rag. The girl waited. When the machine turned to her, she raised both hands. Her entire body glowed. The metal around them began to vibrate. Lights flickered. Even the warden. So then she whispered one word, break. The warden convulsed. Its limbs jerked. Its armor cracked. Sparks exploded from its joints. The blue light in its chest flickered, then burst. It collapsed to its knees. Then it fell, face first, dead. Zara stood in shock. Her mouth was open, but no words came out. Cade helped the predator up. It limped but was still alive. The girl turned away from the fallen machine. They will send worse next. Zara shook her head. Worse than that? They'll send the architects. Cade looked serious. They don't leave the inner worlds. They will now, the girl said. They'll come to erase everything. Me, you, this entire land. Zara tried to breathe. Then what do we do? The girl turned to her. We stop hiding. We show them what they built, and what they failed to destroy. She walked toward the surface. The air above them was brighter, now, but only barely. Fires burned in the distance. The black ship outside had vanished, but more would come. Cade followed her. Zara hesitated, then moved too. Behind them, the broken warden lay silent. Ahead, the wind carried smoke and thunder. They were no longer fugitives. They were something else now, symbols of a truth buried too long. And the war that was coming would not be between armies. It would be between creation and creator. Night fell over the borderlands, but the sky wasn't dark. It glowed with fires from crashed ships and the light of machines patrolling the sky. From the ridge, Zara could see the war forming. The human world wasn't attacking. The architects were, and they weren't sending armies, they were sending silence. Entire areas turning cold, lifeless, empty, villages vanishing, forests turning gray. Even the wind had stopped moving. Zara stood with Cade and the girl at the edge of a broken cliff. Below, the remains of an ancient station blinked with dim lights. The predator paced beside her, ears twitching ready. They're closing in, Cade said. Fast. Zara gripped her staff tighter. What do they want now? The girl looked at the sky. To finish the lie, Cade nodded. If we disappear, no one will ask what really happened. They'll erase the labs, the mistakes, the programs, me, her, everyone who saw too much. Zara felt her stomach turn. But why silence whole regions? The girl's voice was quiet. Because truth spreads faster than fire. Suddenly, the ground shook. From the far side of the cliffs, machines began marching. Tall, thin-legged, covered in mirror-like plates. They didn't walk like soldiers. They glided like ghosts. Cade frowned. Scour models. Mind wipers. Once they enter a village, the people forget what came before. They erase memory? Zara asked. Yes, the girl said. Even your own name. Zara's pulse quickened. How do we stop them? The girl turned to Cade. Together. He nodded and stepped forward. But something pulsed behind them. A presence. A sound. Low and strange, like a heartbeat from underground. Zara turned, confused. What's that? The girl looked toward the remains of the station. Something I buried long ago. The metal ground split open. From beneath it, a new machine rose, but this one was different. It was made from bone and steel. It had no eyes, just a smooth surface shaped like a skull. Its arms were long, wrapped in symbols. Its chest carried the same Vanth mark Cade wore. Zara stepped back. What is that thing? It's the first, the girl said. The prototype they made before me. Cade's jaw tightened. It's still alive? It was never alive, she said. It's something worse. The machine stepped forward and spoke in a voice made of hundreds. Unit VANTH-0. Mission incomplete. Target. All survivors. The Predator growled. Cade pulled Zara back. We can't fight it alone. We won't, the girl said. She stepped toward the machine. It raised a weapon, but she didn't flinch. You were made to end me, she said. Now I command you to choose. The machine paused. Smoke hissed from its joints. It shook violently, struggling between its orders and something deeper. Zara whispered, Can she control it? I don't know, Cade said, but she's the only one who can. The girl's voice rose. You don't belong to them anymore. The machine let out a strange sound, like a scream buried in metal, and then fell to one knee. Zara couldn't believe it. The weapon in its hand dropped. Cade looked at the girl. What did you do? She stared at the machine. I reminded it who it was before they broke it. Above, the other machines drew closer. The sky began to rumble. The girl turned to both of them. It's time. For what? Zara asked. To show the architects what happens when their broken children stop running. The sky above them cracked open. A massive ship emerged. Blacker than the night around it. Smooth and silent, shaped like a blade, it hovered without sound. Beneath it, hundreds of machines began descending, falling like silver rain onto the dead soil. Zara gripped her staff tightly. Her breathing was fast, but steady. Cade stood beside her, gaze locked on the sky. The Predator crouched, growling, low, sensing the storm about to break. The girl, no longer just a girl, stepped ahead of them all. The prototype machine, now kneeling, rose to stand behind her. The broken Alpha had chosen her. Others, deeper in the ruins, began to wake too. Old projects, forgotten constructs, test subjects, all long thought dead or buried. But now they gathered. Do you have a plan? Zara asked quietly. The girl didn't turn. I am the plan. Cade looked at her. Once we start this, there's no turning back. She nodded. That's how you break a lie. You face it. The first wave of architect machines landed, sleek, deadly, armed with weapons, from 100 dead civilizations. Zara braced, but the girl lifted one hand. The very air changed. Everything slowed, and then it began. The ground split open. The forgotten prototypes rose. Dozens, then hundreds. Machines that had once been locked in cages now ran free. Some were metal, some flesh. All were angry. Zara moved with them, ducking between beams of light and flying debris. She saw Cade leap onto one of the enemy walkers, tearing through it with his bare hands. He fought like a storm. No hesitation, no fear. The girl walked through the chaos untouched. Bullets stopped in midair around her. Lasers bent away. She reached the base of the architect's ship and raised both hands. It shook. The ship tried to rise, to escape. She didn't let it. It crashed into the cliffs in a blast of stone and flame. Zara stood in awe. Nothing like this had ever happened on her world. She turned and saw Cade, his face covered in blood but his eyes focused. He nodded at her. She nodded back. This was no longer a war of survival. It was a revolution. The architects tried to deploy their last weapon, a black orb that twisted light itself. But the girl absorbed it. She held the weapon's energy in her hand like smoke, then let it fade. More machines shut down, their cores rejecting orders. Zara saw the fear in the architects' last defenses. They had never expected their own creations to rise against them. In less than an hour, the battlefield fell quiet. The skies cleared, the machines stopped, silence returned. Zara stood among the wreckage, smoke rising all around her. Bodies, broken machines, and ruined metal stretched for miles. The predator limped toward her and rested its head against her arm. Cade walked to the girl, who now sat on a rock, staring at the sky. "They won't stop," he said. "They don't need to," she replied. "The galaxy already heard what we did today." Zara sat beside them, heart still heavy but her spirit stronger than ever. "Will they come back?" she asked. "Yes," Cade said. "But next time we won't be hiding." The girl looked toward the horizon. "Next time we'll be waiting." Zara smiled softly. The predator howled once. And far away, for the first time in many generations, the stars above the borderlands began to shine again, not with fear, but with hope.